What if the Ming treasure fleet didn't just visit East Africa, but stayed? Imagine a windswept harbor at dawn, coral stone walls, lateen sail dhows, and beyond them, towering Chinese junks at anchor. A settlement takes root, part shipyard, part market, part embassy, turning monsoon delays into opportunity. If Zheng He planted a foothold at Kilwa or Mombasa, would the Indian Ocean's web tighten around a new hub, and rewrite the timing of global trade? Between 1405 and 1433, the Ming court sent out vast expeditions under Admiral Zheng He, diplomacy backed by spectacle and shipbuilding skill. The fleets reached India, Arabia, and East Africa, exchanging gifts and securing tribute routes. Chinese mariners steered by compass and monsoon, with sternpost rudders and watertight bulkheads beneath their feet, a floating architecture of state power. Along the Swahili coast, Mogadishu, Malindi, Mombasa, Kilwa, city-states thrived on coral stone trade ports. Gold funneled from the hinterlands, ivory and spices crossed the monsoon highways. Architecture mixed African, Arab, and Persian styles, doors carved deep as ledger books, markets alive with beads, cloth, and copper. Ming ships carried carpenters, interpreters, doctors, and records. They knew how to fix hulls far from home and read the seasons like a clock. The coast offered hardwood, fresh water, and repair harbors, plus merchants ready for silk, porcelain, and copper coins. The ingredients for a permanent base were present, only a decision was missing. Our switch point arrives, a storm-battered return leg forces the fleet to winter on the coast. Repairs stretch into months. Local leaders and Ming officers strike a bargain, land for a yard, storage, and a well, protection for reliable trade. This isn't conquest, but anchorage becoming address. From here, the ripples begin. A gale tears sails and loosens rigging. With the monsoon turned against them, the admirals choose to winter on the Swahili coast. The fleet spreads out, deep-anchored junks in the roadstead, lighter craft shuttling to shore. Purser lists stretch into months, canvas to recut, hulls to recaulk, sailors to feed. What began as emergency shelter turns, quietly, into a plan. Pilots walk the shore with local guides, testing water, counting tides, tapping timber. They choose a slight rise near a freshwater creek, high enough to drain, close enough to launch. Elders and Ming officers set stakes and knots to mark a yard and storehouse. Not a fortress, just a footprint. Mangrove poles rise into a tidy palisade. A timber slipway is laid, greased with animal fat and oil. Masons line a new well with coral blocks, lashing a pulley over its mouth. A watch platform faces the anchorage, not to fire from, but to count hulls. The address begins to look permanent. A sail loft opens under palm shade, canvas spread, edges whipped and stitched. A rope walk twists local fiber into hawsers, carpenters drive oakum and resin into seams. A traveling forge spits sparks for nails and fittings. Piece by piece, hulls grow tight and crews regain confidence. Order follows tools. A headman is appointed from the fleet to keep the yard's clock, local elders retain authority over town law. Contracts are copied twice, Swahili Arabic script and Chinese characters, listing tolls, storage, and fair prices. Interpreters earn their keep, disputes have a table, not a sword. Storehouses fill along the palisade, porcelain dry stacked, silk kept high, copper cash stringed and sealed. From inland routes come gold dust, ivory, resin, fine hides, from the ships, iron tools and cloth. Dhows and junks meet at the yard gate like gears meshing, slow, regular, and profitable. Routine hardens into habit. A bell marks watches, Gardens near the well keep crews in greens, sick men rest apart until fit to sail. On a wall hangs a monsoon board, arrows for the winds and days chalked off. The yard speaks a new language, part Swahili, part Chinese, mostly the grammar of work. Harbor clocks shift to the monsoon's pulse. Dhows from Sofala and Mogadishu arrive on the land breeze, junks time their departures for the turn of wind. The yard becomes a calendar you can walk through, sails cut now for ships that will sail months later, stores filled for the outbound surge. Convoys mean safety, predictable prices, and a lane that feels more like a road with every season. Workshops teach by doing. Local builders watch watertight bulkheads go into a damaged junk, then try lighter partitions in a large dhow. Sternpost rudders replace side sweeps on new hulls. In return, lateen handling tricks migrate onto Chinese small craft. The result isn't one ship copied, but two traditions interlocking. A bilingual pilot book takes shape, compass bearings, star paths, and landmarks written twice, once in Chinese, once in Arabic script. Coastal towers keep night braziers, not lenses, marking safe headlands. With pilots trading routes and seasons, the ocean narrows into named corridors you can memorize. Logistics turns wind into certainty. Coopers raise casks for water and oil, rice and ship biscuit stack dry, while smoked fish and dates ride in sealed jars. Spare spars, canvas, rope, and tar sit sorted by size. With food and fix in hand, a missed wind hurts less, and risks fall. Trust follows standard pieces. Copper cash and cowries buy small things, bars and dust of gold settle bulk trades. Scales are tested against official stones, rods mark fathoms on the quay. Seals close crates the same way on both sides of the ocean. Fewer quarrels, faster deals. Security scales with numbers. Convoys form at the yard gate, escorts posted where reefs pinch the lanes. Watchtowers pass flags by day and braziers by night, drums carry across the roadstead. Pirates prefer loners. When a lane stays busy and loud, the sea behaves like a policed highway. Harbor power shifts without a single shot. City councils weigh dues and docking rights against safer lanes and steady prices. The settlement is not a garrison, it's a customs hinge. Elders keep city law, while yard officers police convoy rules. Tribute turns pragmatic, measured gifts in, measured protection out. Muse rides the monsoon. Envoys from Calicut and Aden visit, comparing tolls and beacon dues. Convoys coordinate at season edges, who leads, who waits, where to anchor when the wind fails. Less glory, more predictability, politics by timetable. Across the ocean, the court counts costs. Admirals send tidy ledgers, repairs offset by port dues, pirates deterred, tribute received. Civil officials ask, should ships guard the ledger or the frontier? The settlement survives by proving it pays for itself. When raiders test the lane, escorts answer fast, signal smoke by day, brazier by night, and a show of steel at the channel's pinch. Most fights end at the sight of order, a seized skiff, an oath taken, fines paid. Pirates dislike paperwork, predictable routes make ambush the harder bet. Geopolitics, in miniature, a coastal hinge turns lanes safer, prices steadier, and neighbors more coordinated. But inland powers still decide inland wars, and faraway courts still tighten or slacken the purse. Not an empire, an anchor. Confidence, medium. Across one stormy season, a visit becomes a foothold. From 1405 to 1433 the treasure fleets roam. In our switch point, a wintering turns into a yard, a well, and a convoy schedule. By the next monsoon, lanes feel narrower, prices steadier, and workshops busier. Not conquest, coordination. A hinge on the Swahili coast closes and opens the Indian Ocean like a door. A foothold can change tempo without changing rulers. Tools, routines, and timetables turn winds into schedules and strangers into neighbors. The limit stays real: monsoons, inland power, and distant budgets, but the gains are sticky: safer lanes, steadier markets, shared skills. If you want more what-ifs tested like this, come with us to the next switch point.